Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into how some ideas that start as, well, basically punchlines end up becoming huge successes.
Hmm.
And we're going to zero in on one that is so simple, so absurd at first that it completely changed the modern office. We're talking about the Nap Pod.
That's right. And specifically, the story of Samir Gupta. The mission for us today is not just telling a cool story. It's really about pulling out a practical blueprint.
Right.
It's about how you take something embarrassing, like a makeshift prototype, and turn it into a real enterprise solution. It's a playbook for anyone out there who thinks their best idea is just too weird to share right now.
And Samir Gupta's story is just, it's phenomenal.
Hmm.
He took this universal human need, for rest, for sleep, and he used it to challenge this really deep-seated corporate idea.
That long hours means you're productive.
Exactly. He didn't just say napping was okay. He built the structure and brought the science to make it a real competitive advantage.
Okay, let's unpack this. What's fascinating here is that the idea, the audacity of it, was directly tied to how exhausted he was. This wasn't some big market analysis. It started with total burnout.
So let's just set the scene because I think this is super relatable. Samir was working at a really demanding tech company, just grinding out these long, long hours.
Yeah.
And he was constantly, finding these little secret hacks just to get through the day,
And the main one was the car nap. He'd literally sneak out to the parking garage on his lunch break, lean the seat back, and try to get 20 minutes of, really bad sleep.
which is just awful.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's inefficient.
And it shows a system that's failing, right? The company demands all this performance, but gives you zero tools for recovery.
So the whole pod idea actually started as a joke. He just said to a coworker, "Man, I wish we just had nap pods here."
They both laughed.
They laughed, but for Samir, the idea just stuck. It wouldn't let go because it was the perfect solution to his exact problem.
And this is the crucial first step. He didn't write a business plan. He didn't make a pitch deck.
No.
He took immediate physical action. He found a storage room nobody was using, grabbed what he could, and built the very first prototype. And we're talking about, it was just old cardboard boxes and duct tape.
Just think about the professional risk of that for a second. In the middle of a corporate office, you're building what looks like a kid's fort.
Or worse.
Right. And the reaction from his coworkers was not subtle. They immediately nicknamed it Samir's Dumb Fort.
And that right there, that's the first huge hurdle for any new idea. The public mockery, exposing something that's not polished yet.
Totally.
But here's the key takeaway. He kept using it. Despite how embarrassing it was, he kept using it, which proves that the value it gave him was bigger than the social cost.
Yeah.
Even that terrible cardboard box gave him enough quiet and darkness to actually make a difference in his day. And that little bit of success, that self-validation, that became his armor.
It's that small, private win that gives you the fuel to fight the bigger public battle. And that battle started right away. The resistance was so much more than just a few jokes.
Oh, absolutely. The criticism came in layers. You had the teasing from his peers, which is one thing, but the pushback from the organization was way harder to deal with. Management saw a box, and their brains immediately went to negligence.
They didn't see innovation.
No, they saw liability, a very visible symbol of someone slacking off.
And that's the real conflict. So when he
Yeah.
tried to make it official, he went to HR, and they reportedly just laughed him out of the room. We have to look at why.
Well, HR's job is to manage risk. So the reaction wasn't personal, it was just institutional.
Okay.
They're thinking about potential accidents, workers' comp claims, and this huge shift in what it means to be working. The culture said you had to be at your desk looking busy.
Even if you're not getting anything done.
Right. A nap pod completely violates that unspoken rule.
And at the same time, he's doubting himself. He's asking, am I just being lazy? Is this a huge waste of time? And that's self-doubt, plus the rejection. That's what kills most ideas like this.
But this is where he made the really smart pivot. And this is the first big lesson for you, the listener. Instead of giving up, he went looking for data. He stopped being just a tired guy with a weird hobby and became an advocate with evidence. He started reading every study he could find on power naps, on sleep, on performance. That research was his new shield.
Okay, so can we get into that? What kind of research did he find? What was the ammunition he was gathering?
He really focused on studies from places like NASA, specifically their research on pilots and astronauts.
Oh.
He found this amazing stat that a 26-minute nap improved performance by 34% and alertness by 54%. He wasn't arguing for a perk anymore. He was arguing for risk management. for productivity.
That's the whole strategic shift right there.
Yeah.
You move the conversation away from "I need a nap"
Yeah.
to "we can reduce errors and improve output."
Exactly. But even with all that data, the setbacks kept coming. Right.
After HR shot him down, he actually doubled down, spent his own money building a better one, a version 2, out of wood and metal this time.
Yeah.
And it literally fell apart. The whole structure failed. So now he's out of money, his family thinks he's crazy, and his product just collapsed.
Here's where it gets really interesting. He faced total rejection. How do you keep going when everyone's laughing at you and your prototype is in pieces on the floor?
It took something from the outside, a catalyst, and that was a new manager.
A new manager.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone who came in fresh, without all the baggage of the cardboard fort story. They just saw this thing, this V2 or maybe V3 prototype, and they were intrigued.
And they were probably looking to make their mark, find ways to improve efficiency.
That's a great point. They were open to new ideas. And so this manager opened the door for him to present to leadership.
So the guy who was being mocked is suddenly in a high-stakes pitch meeting. How did he handle that? He wasn't a slick salesman. He just came in as a researcher. His whole presentation wasn't about how cool the pod looked. It was about the cost of not having the pod. He used the NASA data, for sure, but then he did something really smart. He brought testimonials from the few coworkers who had been secretly using it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and they all said the same thing. It killed their afternoon slump. That mix of hard data and real internal stories, that's what got them to agree to a trial run.
And we know the trial was the big turning point. But how did they measure it? What numbers did leadership see that made them say, okay, let's do this for real?
This is the really useful part. The trial focused on two things: error rates and employee satisfaction. In the departments that had the pods, they tracked mistakes in things like coding or data entry, especially in the afternoon.
Between what, like 2 and 4 p.m.?
Exactly. And the sources say they saw a 15% drop in afternoon errors in those groups. 15%.
Wow, that's a real number.
It's a huge number. And then the feedback on employee satisfaction went through the roof, which they knew would lead to better retention. Suddenly, the nap pod wasn't a weird luxury, it was a cost-saving tool.
That's the moment of validation. I mean, the shame from the cardboard fort just completely disappears when you can point to a 15% reduction in errors.
Yeah, and for him, the pride must have been immense. People weren't laughing anymore. They were thanking him. They were saying, "You solved a real problem for me."
So that internal win, that was the launch pad for what came next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The company went from a trial to a full-scale rollout. They built real, professionally designed nap pods for the whole company, but this is where the story shifts.
From an innovator inside a company.
To an entrepreneur starting one.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, once his company proved the concept worked, the market noticed.
Other companies started calling.
They saw their competitors getting an edge, and they wanted in. That demand is what pushed Samir to launch his own business.
So let's get into that scaling process. Because it's one thing to make a dozen pods for your own office, but it's totally different to start a real manufacturing business.
Right.
He didn't just stick with tech companies either. He went into schools, hospitals, universities. The pain points must have been completely different for each of them.
That's a critical insight. For tech, it was about attracting top talent and fighting creative burnout. For hospitals, though, it was all about patient safety.
Okay, that makes sense.
A nurse who gets a quick 20-minute power nap is a safer, more effective nurse. In that world, it's about reducing liability and meeting compliance standards. It's a safety tool.
And for universities, I'm guessing it was more about student wellness, right?
Yeah.
Helping them manage the stress of exams.
Exactly. He was segmenting the market based on need. The product was the same, optimized rest, but the pitch had to be tailored completely. For one client, it's about innovation. For another, it's essential safety gear.
It's just wild to think about the guy hiding in a cardboard box, suddenly managing supply chains and talking to IP lawyers.
It really is, but it shows how that early, humiliating phase was so important. All the data he gathered then, all the user feedback, that's what defined the final product.
He knew exactly what features mattered.
Yes, soundproofing, the right recline angle, a gentle wake-up system. He proved the idea wasn't dumb at all, the context was just wrong. He challenged the where and how of work, and in doing so, unlocked this huge market.
So what does this all mean for you? If you're out there sitting on an idea that you think is useful, but people are kind of laughing at it, what are the big actionable lessons from Samir's journey?
Okay, number one, Intellectualize your solution. Don't just run on passion. Find the data.
Find your NASA study.
Find your NASA study.
Turn-
Turn your personal problem into a strategic, measurable business case. Change the conversation from "I'm tired" to "I can save us money and boost performance by 15%.
Lesson 2 has to be embracing that messy first version.
Yes. The cardboard fort wasn't a failure. It was a necessary first step. You have to be willing to look a little foolish at the start because that's where you get the real-world feedback you need to build a better version too.
And the final one.
Recognize that the ridicule you're facing is often just a symptom of people being uncomfortable with change. When HR laughed, they weren't laughing at the idea of rest. They were laughing because he was telling them their entire way of working was flawed.
Right.
He saw the fundamental need, even if the corporate culture wasn't ready for it yet, and he just kept solving for that need.
It's an incredible story. The cardboard fort becoming this enterprise solution is such a great reminder that boldness isn't always about having the most complex idea. It's about your willingness to stand by that first, simple, maybe even embarrassing prototype until the world catches up.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. I mean, his ability to just persevere, especially when the skepticism was all about culture and how things are done, that's what made the difference between a funny office story and a successful company.
So think about that dumb idea you might be hiding right now. We want you to really consider what metrics would that idea improve if you gave it a chance. So we're going to prove that sometimes you have to literally rest on your dreams to wake up the world. So go find your data and go build your fort.